With the Carolina Panthers in the midst of a 5-game losing streak and their quarterback possibly on his way out of town, the Carolina Panthers ushered in a familiar foe whom are also in the midst of their own losing streak in hopes of possibly getting back on track. How would the Panthers fare? Find out next on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Hello, all you prowlers. Thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Growlin' and Prowlin'. Of course, I am Mr. CeeLo here, joining you on this victorious Sunday where it just feels so good. First of all, congratulations to Bryce Young and all of the Panthers staff, as I'm really overjoyed right now, you guys. I'm really happy because Bryce deserves it, and he has played so well. And as I said, I'm going to start calling out a lot of these Panther writers. I haven't got to listen to all of them, but I'm going to start calling them out because it's not fair to Bryce. Bryce is playing well, and people are going to say, what do you mean? Well, I'm waiting. Please comment. Please, because you didn't watch the game in totality. Bryce is doing such a great job in reading what he's really doing an excellent job beginning to start to lay stake on the anticipatory plays. Because I'm going to tell you, there was one he fed into Leggett that had 3 Saints around him. And I remember hearing the broadcaster say, that's excellent anticipation. Let me help you all out with something. It's great anticipation when it's complete. It's not when it's intercepted. That play could have easily been an INT. And I'm going to tell you guys something. He did a phenomenal job executing that. And we have got to, as fans, we got to stop doing this. And I heard somebody on Facebook. It was great. I should have, what I should have did was screenshot it. Because there are a lot of you guys out there that support Bryce Young. And you support the show as well. So keep them coming, you guys. I shouldn't have to have flashy intros to get you guys to watch the show. But the reality of it is, and I want to hear from you guys because I want you to talk. And I don't want you to be afraid to say that Bryce did this and that. There are a lot of you that are saying, I told you Bryce couldn't do it. I am seeing, and this something needs to be addressed. The offensive line is doing a great job run blocking. But they ain't doing a great job pass blocking. But let's get into it, you guys. I hope you guys are doing great this Sunday. I know I am. And as I said, there's really nothing to report. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, we have to support our guys because here's the truth. Here is the down and out truth. Okay, Charles says, from Growlin' and Prowlin', he says, I think the Panthers are giving Bryce Young a short lease, which is unfair. They need to open up the playbook and allow him to see if he can handle it. Listen, I agree with you. I think ultimately what's got to happen is Dave Canellis is a lot of the problem. And, at the end of the day, until Dave Canellis really sits down and says, okay, I'm going to give this kid a real opportunity. Because right now, I'm seeing him put the ball down the field. And he threw a gorgeous ball to Xavier Leggett. It was absolutely gorgeous. And Leggett he dropped it in a basket, y'all. You can't tell me that he could have made a better throw than that. Now, when we talk about making plays, I think Bryce Young is starting to get more and more comfortable. And we as Panther fans need to understand one concept. We don't have enough. We don't have enough. And we've got to realize we don't have enough players that are going to make our team contenders. We're basically, in a nutshell, trying to finish out this season and make people's life as miserable as we possibly can. That's all we can do. But we can give our fans and myself and many of us out there something to look forward to in 2025. Because we got to remember something. We have a second round pick courtesy of that pick we made when we traded back. We do. We should have a second one. And this is why I say, guys, we need to understand that getting another quarterback, unless he's C.J. Stroud ready, and even C.J. Stroud is showing some issues this season. Not necessarily a sophomore slump, but he's going through it. And a lot of it's because of protection. Unless you have everything set up right in place. And right now, our offensive line, I don't care what anybody says, the offensive line, they can say the pressure rate and this, that, and the other. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Canellis calls the game differently with Andy Dalton. Now, there's a lot of reporters that are recognizing that, and Canellis needs to step his game up. Because I'm going to be honest with you, there have been times when there have been plays to be had. There have been plays to be had. You're not trying to feed bingo. It's almost like you're saying, okay, I've already got my Xavier Legette, so we're not going to worry about Mingo. I don't like the whole presence that they're not efficiently using players. They're on the roster. Use them. But let's get into the game, guys. You've heard me go on my early go off. Panthers 23, Saints 22, as the Saints drop their 7th straight. And look, this game, I watched this game, and I was not happy about what I was watching on the offensive side. And I really wasn't happy what I saw on the defensive side. To the point, I want you guys to understand just how this was. The Carolina Panthers, it was an upset. This came from Bill Barnwell. Anthony Rizzuti printed the article, but Bill Barnwell writes, the Saints outgained the Panthers by 150 yards, ran for 150 yards, and won the turnover battle. Over the last 20 years, teams have gone 275-0 with that formula. Now, 275-1. Now, in all due respect, I believe Coach Avero is adopting the bend but don't break philosophy. And with that, it's causing us to lose a lot of time. Because needless to say, I think the philosophy is that he's understanding over the year, he doesn't have the kind of guys where you can take those big chances and get teams off the field on third down. I think ultimately what he's doing is he's still trying to get pressure, but he's not going all in like he did last season. And when I say all in, you're not seeing a lot of these sellout blitzes. You're not seeing those anymore. You're seeing more of 6-man, maybe 5-man rushes, and you're not really seeing that. And it's a good thing, because the reality of what we're doing right now is you're looking down, and you saw today that you still got DJ Johnson out. You got Jamie Robinson, Derek Brown, of course. Hopefully DJ Wanham and Amari Barno can be ready. And you're still trying to, plug players. And this is why I said it is so crucial that when you get certain guys, you treat them well. But all in all, when you look at the final tally of it, 427 yards that the Panthers gave up on the defensive side of the ball. But here's I would say the upside to that. And the upside to that is that when you go back and you really look at how this game played out, you had 3 field goals and you had 2 touchdowns. So, and really what's crazy is that the Saints got their follow-up touchdown after you got yours. You know, you got on the board 7-6, and then they come back and they score on a 9-play, 78-yard drive that ate up 5 minutes. And when we look at the second half, and this is something else that people have to look at, the drive that got us the field goal. Okay, it wasn't great, but we got to look at it from the standpoint that we handed the ball to Hubbard. There was a throw that really, I think, Moore dropped, and then the offensive line just kind of gave way, and Bryce was sacked. So, you really got to hand it to Bryce in a lot of different ways. And I think the issue that a lot of people are having is giving this guy credit. And then you see the opening drive in the second half. You see the Panthers are backed up at the 14. You see the running game was somewhat stagnant at some point, but then you see Bryce hit Jatavian Sanders on this really nice throw on 2nd and 9. It was a really good throw for 46 yards. And then you see the long 21-yarder to Jatavian Sanders. And then the other thing that you saw was that you saw him take a shot to Sanders on a smaller defender and nearly make the grab. That's what you want to see, is Bryce getting confident in making these throws. Now, see, this is a double-edged sword, because when you do it right, everybody loves you. When you don't do it right, why did you make that throw? See, I'm a guy that I like that. If I see a matchup, now I will say it like this: if the throw is bad, like the one to Coker was last week, the one to Coker was underthrown, it wasn't a good throw. But it's the fact that he thought about that. The more he makes those throws, the more he's going to become accustomed to knowing where the wingspan of Coker is, the wingspan of Jatavian Sanders, the wingspan of Xavier Legette. And if they ever get him back, Tommy Tremble, and even the opportunity that Mingo can get, Panther Nation, how many times do I have to keep telling you, your players are going to play if you talk them up? I'm going to keep talking my guys up because I know what they can do. I've seen what they can do. I've seen their maximum ability to be good. The problem is we need to have those guys. We got those guys in the locker room. They're all over the field. We're just not utilizing them. See, whether people want to admit it or not, we're going to have to draft a center, a backup center. Because Corbett, and unless they'll probably hang on to Brady Christensen as a utility piece. It won't be cheap, because this is a guy that can play 3 positions, and a lot of people are going to say, "Oh well, there's a lot of guys can play." Not at the efficiency that he plays. No way. He was pretty good today. And when you can get a guy, everybody says you can just slide a guy in there. No, Brady Christensen needs to be paid like a top tier center, top tier guard, or I would say a middle of the road tackle. Because guess what? You still need a guy that is going to be great when called upon. You guys remember last year? A lot of last year's woes was because of the offensive line. Everybody looks back at Bryce and they forget how bad the offensive line was. It was a nightmare. But looking at the drives, I was so impressed by when you have 3 and outs, which is the big problem I have. You've got a pass and a pass. You're sitting here throwing passes left and right, Canellis. Again, 3 passes and out. And then the 31-yarder, a 31-yard drive in which you've got a beautifully thrown ball by Bryce down to the New Orleans 26-yard line, which should have been for Legette more than likely. That's on Legette. That ball's got to be caught and pulled in and taken in. But it was always 3 and outs for the Panthers. 3 and outs. It was either all or bust. Boom or bust. That's what we saw all night from the Panthers. Boom or bust. It was either 3 and out or we were driving down the field. Boom or bust. Well, I beg your pardon. We got a first down on first drive and the second drive. It was 5 plays and out. But once again, Canellis is falling in love with throwing the football. And this is what angers me, and it should anger you. For a guy that really doesn't trust his quarterback, it's almost like, and I'm not saying he's doing this, I almost feel like he's sabotaging him. Like he does not want this guy to be successful. And it's just like I was listening to an announcer that was saying he's protecting Andy Dalton now. What are you protecting a 37-year-old quarterback for in the middle of a season that is a wash? Bryce was 16 of 26, 171, and it should have he should have been over 200 yards passing. And ain't no telling him, he probably would have finished that drive with a touchdown. That's just how confident I am in Bryce right now. So all you naysayers, you need to apologize. And I know what you're going to say. That's just the Saints. They're bad. Well, guess what? If you keep piling good performances on top of good performance on top of good performance, his confidence starts to build. Now, we got a pretty good Giants defense next week. Do you think we're going to be able to run the football against the Giants next week? I want you guys to comment on that. Let me know what you think. Because I don't see us being able to run exceptionally well. The one thing I can honestly say about the Giants is they play defense. Now, I know people are going to say they're going to look at the 27 points they gave against the Commanders and say, yeah, well, let's look at it. The Giants only gave up 52 yards to Rodriguez. They gave up 42 to Eckler on 22 carries. Now, looking at the per average attempt, that's not bad. Jaden Daniels had 8 for 35. Nichols 8 for 20. That's 149 yards. That looks good. But then let's flip it over. A team that the Panthers were able to run against would have been better had Canellis had stuck with the plan. They ran for 164. And Daniel Jones ran for 54 yards. This is going to be a matter of who can make the fewest mistakes. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. If we have to go into this game against the Giants and have to actually run the football, I'm not sure I'm really overly confident. Because the Giants had a turnover and they were able to give the Commanders a game. Now, I know people are going to say this is a difference of opponents, variation of opponents. Because I'm going to be honest with you, the way we were able to put that thing down against, they were able to put their thing down against us. I mean, listen, I look at it from this standpoint. Canellis is going to have to start getting Bryce on the perimeter. Now, he's doing a good job with the bootlegs and the runarounds. We've got to get Tommy Tremble back. This is nothing against the other guys. Jatavian Sanders, I'm beginning to really start to like. I still think we got to give Tommy Tremble an extension. You heard me. He needs an extension. These two being together, especially with Tremble being the better blocker, and Tremble is a better athlete. That we need to feature him more. I think that was one thing the Deontay Johnson trade was good for us, was we got another guy that was eaten out. But you didn't get him right. You're still not going to hear me say that was the correct move, Morgan. Because if you see Mike Williams or one of these other receivers go bye-byes to the Texans or even the Chargers, you see one of these guys get picked up and they get a fourth or third, that's going to be another stain on your resume already. But going back to the game, guys, I was very happy with the way Bryce looked. Bryce was taking shots today, y'all. Y'all got to look at it from like this. Bryce was reluctant to take shots with this unit. He started taking shots later. If y'all notice, as bad as y'all pick on DJ Shark, he started taking his chances. That is a good thing. When you get a guy that's hesitant and he starts taking his shots, that makes you willing to put him out there. Listen, you can get mad if you want. The interception he had in Denver last week, I was okay with it. Because the reality of it is, if Bryce is out there taking shots and he's taking chances, what it shows is he's not afraid. And this is where, with the run game we have, Canellis needs to understand we don't have to be complicated with our scheme. You get one guy going down the field somewhere, whether it's on the outside or on the seams. The one thing I was one thing I was really happy about was I saw Jatavian Sanders streaking down the numbers. That is what you want. Down those numbers. You get down those numbers, and guess what? You get that throw. You get that linebacker out there, and that's what you want. One-on-one coverage with those linebackers. And the thing is, people are saying he's more in the shotgun. That's not the problem. He's been in the shotgun. The problem is you got to call stuff that he's comfortable with. You have to help him be comfortable. Spread the ball around. Now we don't have, even Adam Thielen's not even back yet. We forget how he was last season. Adam Thielen didn't catch 100 balls off of Andy Dalton. He caught 100 balls off of Bryce Young. The problem was Adam Thielen had a lot of good routes to run, and he is a phenomenal route runner. However, you also have to learn the strengths and weaknesses of your other receivers, what routes they run well. How can you set them up? And I still don't think Dave Canellis understands. I think the only ones he wants to say is, okay, Jalen Coker, Leggett. You're not looking at Mingo and saying, how can we make this guy better? What can we do to include him? Now, I don't go to the practices, you guys, but I'm sitting here listening to them talk about how Leggett and how Coker are doing this and that in practice. I don't hear anything about Mingo. He's going to practice. But like I said, I don't have the PFF grades yet, you guys. I usually do about this time. But as I said, I'm still happy with the way Chuba Hubbard is doing his thing. Despite the fact that Anthony Rizzuti and I read a lot of his material, and I agree with a lot of his takes. Every now and again, he says something I don't agree with. But he's on the same page with me. Dud play calling. And Bryce was still able to do what he did. He's still able to do it with the dud play calling of Canellis. As I said, Canellis looks like a genius because he had Mike Evans and he had DK Metcalf on his teams. We don't have a legit number one. And everybody's saying, oh, Leggett can do it. Well, here's the thing. We can have some pretty good number twos or high-end number twos. Coker's looking more and more like a legit number two. And Xavier Leggett's looking like a possible number one if he can get those drops down. You can't let anybody take the ball from you. But as we get ready to roll out of here, let me give you the numbers because I am happy. Once again, Chuba Hubbard only has 15 carries. And I'm going to tell you, 15 let me say it like this. 15 carries, 72 yards. Do y'all know how many yards that is? That is almost 5 yards a carry. I'm still trying to figure out, if you got an offensive line that is a run blocking line, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I mean, and the thing is, here's the thing. I mean, you don't have to hand the ball on an end around. You don't have to hand it off. Christian McCaffrey had some of his longest runs in Carolina Panther history when we just sent a guy up the formation. And then right behind it goes McCaffrey. Or right behind guard goes McCaffrey. Wherever you want it to go. All we have to do is give the impression that we're going that way. And eventually, if we see it enough. Look, I'm all for running this play at least 4 times a game. And then on the 5th time, you give it to somebody. You don't have to do all the crazy nitpick stuff. Rizzuti said in his article as well that we got too cute. And I agree. You only really need to use misdirection to get people all you want misdirection to do is either to tip you off what they're doing, or you want to get somebody to make a step in the wrong direction. Because at the NFL level, look, let me break it down to you. At the high school level, all you have to do is get a guy to take 2 steps in the wrong direction and he's beaten. College level, 1 step. At the NFL level, leaning is enough. Lean. You talk about a step. If you take a step, you might be beat. You can just lean wrong. You can be leaning forward and the ball's going outside. Guess what? You're beat. That's how fast the game is. And I don't think Canellis understands the importance of that. And the other thing is, we got to get the play in. We keep getting right there at the end, and Bryce he's clapping for the ball. Get the play in, Canellis. You got to know what you're doing. You've been a play caller. Get the play in. When you call this play, you got to have at least 4 or 5 plays. Look, you should know your playbook well enough. If you're expecting Bryce to know it, you should know it well enough to know what you're running next. As soon as you see the results of that play, you should already know it. It shouldn't be, okay, this resulted in this. Let's go here. You should have 5 different plays already in your head with the outcomes there. Every outcome should have it. Whether it's a loss, no gain, short gain, medium gain, Big play game. You should already know. Just saying. Just saying. Derek Carr was rattled, and I think Michael Thomas had a tweet. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the hit that that Chris Olave took, it was on Derek Carr, because the reality of it was, I saw where Xavier Woods was trying to pull up at the last minute. Look, when you watch the play, it was a bang play. You don't realize how fast these guys are moving until you watch this in slow motion. These guys are moving. You're talking about they caught these guys at 20 miles an hour. Can you imagine that with 10 yards of space between them? How fast that happens? These guys are going full speed. And it's great that he's okay. Nothing but the best for him. I think they said it's his second concussion. He just came back from a concussion. So, yeah, we always want these guys to be safe. But Derek Carr's just as much at fault. And look, you can't be throwing flags. I'm all for player safety. But that Detroit game was even worse. If you guys don't know, they threw a player out of the game. I've never seen that. Brian Branch. I've never seen that. I don't like it. I don't think you should do it. I think the fact of the matter is you don't need to make up rules as you go along. I've seen worse not get disqualified. But all I'm saying is that the quarterbacks are just as responsible for these players not getting hammered as well. Look, there should be a type of, there's always been an unwritten rule. You don't go over the middle. You got to be a man to go over the middle with a safety lurking there. Everybody says that. You got a safety and a middle linebacker most of the time. You go over that middle, going full speed, and not, if you run over the middle, it better not be you going full speed. You better settle in a hole. Because you go over there full speed, and there's a safety right there. And I don't like the fact that I don't like the fact that the NFL enforces this rule. I don't. I mean, you talk about safety all you want. There's also a level of safety that the offense needs to handle. Oh, believe me, then, are you willing to take one for the team? No. I'm not with it. But as I said, Damani Richardson had a really good game today. 12 tackles on the day. Charles Harris had 6 total tackles, 2 losses, and a sack. That was refreshing to see. The only sack that we had today. A'Shawn Robinson had a pretty good game. Shaw Smith-Wade was pretty good. Nick Thurman, Josie Jewell had 6 tackles. And Trevin Wallace, once again, is doing a really fabulous job filling in for Shaq Thompson. And I think ultimately what that's going to do is, and I think, once again, I think ultimately that's going to be the end for Shaq Thompson. I hate to see this happen, but I don't see any other way this is going to happen unless they can move one of those two guys. It wouldn't surprise me if we could move Shaq to the outside. He started as an outside linebacker. He's a great pass rusher. Maybe that can be the answer to Coach Avero's issues. Because I'm hearing everybody say, that's another thing I want to address. Y'all keep saying Coach Avero needs to be gone. What has he got to work with? Mike Jackson was a pleasant find. Shaw Smith-Wade, great find. Jadeveon Clowney leads the team in hurries, but 1 sack. $20 million, 1 sack. Oh, I'm sorry, $10 million a year, 1 sack. One of them ain't stuck on the field yet. So, do I think we need to speed this up and go with Jadeveon Clowney? I say we look at the trade options that we have out there, according to Diana Rossini. And I'll get back with you at the trade deadline, you guys, because I'm going to give you guys the PFF grades. But as of right now, Panthers 23, Saints 22. I'm really ecstatic. Listen, if you want positive feedback, come here. Because for a guy who wanted CJ Stroud, I am going to be positive about Bryce Young. I looked at it from the standpoint, look, the organization took him. All we can do is stand behind him. Do I want him as my quarterback? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I want him to succeed because here's the reality. You can't go back and change the past. You cannot go back and change things. A lot of people are going to say, well, why would you endorse Stroud and not Young? Well, because here's the reality. At the end of the day, a lot of times you don't evaluate things from a more tangible reasoning. Now, Bryce, though he's short, he's showing he's got a lot of heart. And he's trying to lead this team. He's slowly gaining the trust of his teammates back. Now, he's gotten a win under his belt. May not be an impressive win, but we've got 2 wins now. And it was a comeback victory. Let that sink in. I'm all in on Bryce Young. Are you? Let me know what you guys think. Make sure that you go and check comment down in the show. And also, if you subscribe, please, 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 please make sure you look down in the comments and put your name down there. Also, go to the Growling and Prowling Facebook page and find out all the other things that I'm involved in. And also go check me out at Mr. CeeLo and see what other shows and projects that I'm involved in. Also, don't forget to go vote on Tuesday. Do your part and vote. If you don't vote, you can't talk. But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.